Hey everyone, I'm Xoonani. Welcome to this video. As you can see, I wanted a lot of things for this video, but after filming I decided to split it because it would be too long. Part 1 will be in this video comparing Goldfaber Aqua dual pens to Molotow Aqua Brush Markers. I got a few comments on my review video from the Goldfaber with questions about the paper and the markers itself, and I was curious myself, so I have to test it out for us. In part 2, I will test 14 watercolor papers. I always use this Gastica home brand watercolor paper for my watery paintings. I'm new into watercolors, almost new, and I have to play around and practice a lot more. And the question for me the last weeks was which paper is the best for me. Also in the comments from my Aqua Marker videos, there was this paper question. So I will try everything on these 14 papers. Then I hopefully know which papers I like most. I mean, hot or cold pressed, 100% cotton, or perhaps mold-made papers. We will see in part 2. Now let's start with part 1. Today I took you with me in my studio. I hope you can see everything good enough. I used my watercolor sketchbook from Bösner for this. The paper inside is the Fine Face C from Canson. It has 224 GMS. Here are the stars of today. I picked out similar colors from both brands. In the ring are the Goldfaber Aqua dual pens. I made a review before, I will link you this video of course. And we have the Molotow Aqua Color Brush Markers. I bought both on the same day and it's time to compare. I hope I can answer all the open questions for you in this video. I have to say, I'm not sponsored, I bought them all by myself. Molotow and Faber Castell are two of my favorite brands, so let's get into it. First, we will swatch quickly. On the left side, I'm swatching the Goldfaber Aqua. Only a bit of color, then pour the pigments down with water. They seem like melting under my brush, and the colors are so vibrant. On the right side, the Molotow Aqua Markers. There is a little difference. These ones are not as vibrant. It's like they have less pigments in the paint. But let's explore if this could be a benefit later. They also melt nicely under my wet brush. Next, we will try if and how much the stroke shadow stays visible if I'm waiting a bit before I go over with water. I accidentally made the Molotow strokes on the left side. Sometimes I'm a bit chaotic, but this will not be bad. I will mark all the swatches afterwards. So we have 2 strokes of each brand. Let's wait a minute before we use water. You can still see the strokes. They don't melt away. What we learned from this is it's a time thing. If you not work too slow, or we can say fast enough, the strokes won't be visible anymore. If you take more time, you can still see them. You can use this in your painting, of course. If you want to have slightly visible lines, as an underdrawing or stuff like that. The Goldfaber are almost invisible, but you can still see both strokes. Next, we will test how they blend into each other without any water. Both blend very well. Last thing I'm interested in, if you use them on top of a non-dried area, will they flow? I hope you can see this. The Faber Castell flows a bit more. I will take close-ups later when I finished so you can see everything better. What I want to do is paint two little portraits to compare how they perform in using them in my normal working flow. I will start with the Goldfaber. I'm an impatient person. That's the hardest thing when I'm using watercolors. Same thing happened here. If the paint isn't dry and you add more paint on top of it, it will instant flow into the wet area. The Goldfaber behave like real watercolors. They are flowy and you have to be careful and use them more like real watercolors. They are also blooming nicely and the edges of your painting will get this lovely watercolor look. They are really high pigmented, obviously, and the colors are vibrant. I would say you have to practice a bit more with them, like with the Molotow ones. You will see in a moment. And of course, the Goldfaber have this second tip. It's like a fine liner. With it, you can easily create details or draw some outlines in the end. But be careful, don't use the outline tip before coloring. It's the same paint. It will melt away. On the other side, I will paint a portrait with the Molotow Aqua Markers. I didn't use them for a portrait or for a picture yet. Let's see how they perform. These markers don't flow so much like the Faber Castell. It's a lot easier if you are impatient to build up the layers in your painting. If you go in with water, the areas are more smooth and light. I can recommend them more for beginners than the Goldfaber. It's easier to paint in a smaller size. I think the Goldfaber perform better at bigger paintings. What I really like is that you have a lot more control about the paint, how it flows. They feel a bit more like markers as real watercolor paint. What I really like. I only have these 4 colors of them. I have to say, after this video, there are more colors on my wish list now. So we are back home and I give you a small summary of this experiment. I like them both, the Goldfaber Aqua and the Molotow Aqua Markers. They feel a bit different in using them, but both have their pros and cons. I could imagine that if you use both marker brands together, you can use them for what they perform best and have the perfect result in the end. I have to do this soon. As I expected, the Molotow markers didn't disappoint me. I like this brand. I like the Molotow acrylic markers even more than the Posca pens because of several reasons. Perhaps you are interested in a video like that? Please write it in the comments, then I can plan a video if you would like to see a Posca versus Molotow one. So, what I have to say about these markers. One of the benefits of the Goldfaber Aqua is, of course, the second fine liner tip. The Molotow have none, but you can also use the thin tip slightly on your paper for details. It's easy. The Goldfaber perform more like real watercolors. They are high pigmented, very vibrant, and you can create blooming watercolor effects more easy. Because of that, you have to be more careful with them and be more patient. I still love them and now I know them better. The Molotows behave more like markers, but you can easily use them with water. They are more controllable, better for beginners, but this depends on what you want to do. If you wait a bit before you use the water, both let a stroke shadow behind. They both blend nicely without water. It's easier to go on wet areas with the Molotow, as you can see here. In the end, I like my second portrait more, but that's not the fault of any marker. I wasn't warmed up in the first one, and it's like baking pancakes. The first one is mostly not as good as the following ones. This brings me to an idea. Should I do the 100 heads challenge? 100 heads in 10 days. Would you like to watch me doing this? I thought about it for a few weeks now and please write it in the comments what you are thinking about. I hope this was a helpful video for you. Don't forget, in my next video, I will test out 14 different watercolor papers with watercolors, aqua markers, and colored pencil on top. Subscribe and hit the bell to be informed about upcoming videos, and it would be so nice to get a like if you enjoyed this video. Let's look at a few close-ups together and have an awesome day. Yours, Xoonani.